All set.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Rochester City Council. As you know, City Council is not conducting in-person meetings for the month of December due to the state Senate bill signed into effect in September. During this time, we're continuing to offer meeting access to the public by posting meeting information and materials on the city's website at www.cityofrochester.gov/public meetings, and by streaming our meetings live on City 12 TV and the City Council's YouTube and Facebook pages. We're seeing spikes in coronavirus cases in the midst of the holiday season. I want to stress the importance of taking the necessary precautions to stay healthy and to prevent the spread of COVID-19, along with all of its cousins. I enjoy anyone who has not received the vaccine to discuss this with their physician and to visit monroecounty.gov/health COVID-19 vaccine for more information. We also have free at-home rapid test kits. They're available for residents this weekend at local ARC centers. Please visit cityofrochester.gov/coronavirus for details. As always, continue to wear your mask in public, regardless of your vaccination status. The meeting will come to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lupian.
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Pio.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
I would like to ask council to join me in a moment of silence. I ask please also that you consider those who suffered so terribly in the tornadoes and violent weather in the South and in Kentucky. And that you give your thoughts and prayers to the acting chief whose father passed, and to the mayor's chief of staff, Brittany Wells, whose mother passed. Okay. Councilmember Harris, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, President Scott. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes of, by Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting on November 9th, 2021 be approved as published in the official sheets of the proceeding.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record. The following documents are hereby directed to be received and filed. The mayor's office has not submitted any communications this month. And the council submits disclosure of interest forms from Councilmember Gruber on introductory number 443 and introductory number 452. Councilmember Harris on introductory number 430 and introductory number 448. And Councilmember Lupian on introductory number 460.
Thank you. These documents will be received and filed. It's time now for the presentation and reference of petitions and any other communications. Are there any petitions?
Yes, Madam President. I have a petition with me with 107 signatures requesting that this body pass the Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot and the By the Block program this evening by this council.
Thank you. That petition will be received and filed. We will now move to the reports of standing.
Excuse me, Madam President. Excuse me.
Yes.
Point of order, Madam President.
Yes.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam President. Before we proceed, we need to recognize and mark this very, very, very extremely important meeting and very special evening. Councilmember Malik Evans.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. This is definitely a very special evening for an individual that gave me my first city job almost 30 years ago, which is crazy. And I just want to say, whereas after almost 30 years, Loretta C. Scott first retired from the city of Rochester in 2005, following an impressive career where she served in progressively more responsible positions, culminating in her appointment in 1992 by Mayor Thomas P. Ryan Jr. as the first Black woman to hold the title of commissioner, leading the Parks, Recreation, and Human Services Department for 13 years. She made her return to public service in January 2010 after having been elected by the people of Rochester as a council member at large, and appointed early in her term as chair of the Parks and Public Works Committee of Council, and vigorously reelected to both second and third terms. She was unanimously selected by her colleagues to serve as council president in 2014. And
whereas knowing that it is to struggle and overcome obstacles with a firm belief that jobs can change lives and true living wage can move families forward, President Scott championed workforce development and education, created new job training programs, implemented a retirement in all transmittal letters that reflect the number of jobs to be produced, and tirelessly promoted employment opportunities, all while keeping her motto, "It's all about the jobs," at the forefront and never missing a moment of the day's news. And
whereas understanding it is essential to show that we value our people by providing quality facilities and services, President Scott supported the creation of the Downtown Transit Center, La Marqueta, the Marina at the Port of Rochester, a personal pleasure given how she loves to fish, and Rock the Riverway, while simultaneously maintaining steadfast support of youth development, neighborhood uplift, recreation, and community beautification. And
whereas, guided by the knowledge that change is not only possible, but necessary, and that those closest to the problem are frequently closest to the solution, President Scott's legislative accomplishments include instating a moratorium on hydrofracking, prohibiting smoking close to libraries, promoting gun buyback events, removing marriage license fees for active duty service members, developing temporary winter homeless shelters, amending the city code to allow for the licensing of food trucks, requiring the installation of panic lights for taxis and training for drivers, and changing the notification requirements for meetings and public hearings. And
whereas, believing with great conviction that a more just world benefits us all, the phenomenal President Loretta C. Scott guided the council to initiate truly transformative change by championing ethics legislation, supporting Ban the Box, originating critical investigations, and leading the effort for unprecedented community engagement surrounding the formation of a definitive police accountability board that would be independent from the police department, while recognizing the unavoidable likelihood of a drawn-out process that would assuredly include multiple court challenges. President Scott resolutely declared, if we're going to do it, let's do it right, and has steadfastly called for repeated appeals of court decisions that deny the disciplinary power that Rochesterians voted in support of. And
whereas consistently recognized as a dependable colleague throughout her tenure, President Scott has been a compassionate mentor, trusted friend, and respected leader, demonstrating her willingness to speak truth to power, accepting challenges, both those sought and those unforeseen. While unassumingly sharing power, her style and grace has enabled her to endure terrific disappointments with tenacity, celebrate joyous triumphs, and consider new ideas, yet repeatedly caution council to stay within their own lane, remaining mindful of responsibilities that belong to other municipalities, and to acknowledge and appreciate the privilege of helping guide change for our city. And
whereas President Scott still found time to be of service to others as a mentor to city youth through Pillars of Hope, the chair of the city's Black Heritage Committee, a member of numerous boards and committees, and as she will tell you, most importantly, as a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, all of which gives rise to the question of how we go forward without her on council. Let me go back and go there again, which gives rise to the question of how we will go forward without her on council, to which we simply answer, we go forward knowing she has poured into us and believes in us, and knowing she still believes in a Rochester that is full of promise, possibility, and progress. And
whereas, as she retires from this latest chapter of public service, we gratefully acknowledge that Loretta C. Scott is a trailblazer who has served with tremendous distinction, leaving City Council after 12 years, with 8 years as president, and having fought for the betterment of Rochester and its residents for more than 45 years. Her legacy will carry on, most notable through the city's operation of Honorable Loretta C. Scott Center for Human Services. She will long be beloved and honored matriarch and pillar of Rochester. Her dedication as a public servant will never be forgotten. Now, therefore, we, Vice President Willie J. Lightfoot, Council members Malik D. Evans, Mitch Gruber, Lachey D. Harris, Mary Lupian, Miguel A. Melendez Jr., Michael A. Patterson, Jose Peo of the City of Rochester do hereby proclaim Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 as a day to honor and celebrate the great Loretta C. Scott. Let's get some finger claps.
Oh my goodness.
Virtual hand claps.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Speech,
so
Madam
much.
President, speech.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? One of the things that came to mind, you remember when we dedicated the port building to Bill Johnson? Bill Johnson is unique. I love him. He said, you know, this could also be a eulogy because there's so much great stuff, right? I mean, who says all of those wonderful things? I am honored. I am honored to have been able to work with you all. I am also honored to know that when I go out the door, the business will continue and it's going to be even better because you all are committed to the task. We've done a lot, but there's a lot more to do. I genuinely appreciate you all taking these few minutes to say some really nice things about me. I like that. I'm amazed, really. I am amazed. A lot of things that passed during my tenure, and you look back and you say, well, maybe I did do some good. I hope that I did. I hope that I've been able to make something a little better than it was. So again, I thank you for the honor. The honor was mine. Thank you.
Madam President, if I could take the opportunity to join the chorus of council's voices, but to speak on behalf of the administration at this momentous occasion, of course. 7 years ago, I joined city government, and you made a very fast and strong friend in me. In fact, you were a mentor and a friend based on our kindred interest in special events. And I am grateful for that mentorship and friendship that continues to this day. I know that all the members of SMT, Madam President, appreciate your leadership, which goes beyond just special events, your steadfast support of the Police Accountability Board, and also, frankly, your advocacy for those of our citizens who often don't have a voice. You've lent your very loud and strong voice to advocate on their behalf, and our city has been very well served as a result of that. We will certainly miss your presence on the Rochester City Council, all of us as citizens of this city, because you have left an indelible mark on this city government, and particularly this very august body. But Loretta, we are better for having had you here among us. And I, for one, am better for having been able to count you as a mentor and a friend. And I will continue to be better because I can still count you as a mentor and a friend. So all the best, Madam President. You deserve your flowers today and every day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. You threw me off a little bit, right? Okay. All right. So we'll get back to our agenda. Councilmember Evans, the Finance Committee report, please.
I know it's always fun when we can throw the president for a loop.
You did.
Yes, we did.
Oh,
Yes,
question,
we did.
just a quick question.
Yes.
Just a quick question. Retirements?
We don't-
Recognitions? We're not doing those?
We don't have those in the sequence right here, but we will do some recognitions at the end of the program. We don't have any listed here.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation: Introductory number 420, appropriating firefighters insurance funds; Introductory number 421, authorizing an agreement for the provision of lease accounting software; Introductory number 422, amending the 2021-22 budget to fund the NWBE staff and public works contractor hiring incentives; Introductory number 423, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds to the parking fund; Introductory number 424, authorizing an agreement and amending the 21-22 budget relating to the Financial Empowerment Centers initiative; Introductory number 425, authorizing an agreement for the Freedom of Information Law records request tracking software services; Introductory number 455, a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of the mayor; Introductory number 456, a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of members of city council; Introductory number 460, approving appointments to the New American Advisory Council; Introductory number 461, authorizing a memorandum of understanding and appropriating American Rescue Plan and state funds for the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center expansion project; Introductory number 464, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the operation of the South Avenue Garage; Introductory number 466, authorizing an agreement for the recruitment and selection of a police chief; Introductory number 467, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds for the city employee COVID-19 vaccination incentive program; Introductory number 414, a resolution approving the establishment of $15 minimum wage for all city employees. The Finance Committee recommends the following entitled legislation be held in committee: Introductory number 462, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and amending the 21-22 budget for the Buy the Block program; Introductory number 463, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2021-22 budget and authorizing agreements for the Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot Program. I know that there will be motions to discharge those from committee, but this report is respectfully submitted by Malik Evans, abstaining on 455, Lachey D. Harris, Michael A. Patterson, Willie J. Lightfoot, and Loretta C. Scott. I think that is one of the longest Finance Committee reports I have ever given, Madam President, but that is our report.
Since it came out of one of the longest Finance Committee meetings we've had.
That's right. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 414, a resolution approving the establishment of a $15 per hour minimum wage for all city employees. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 420, legislation authorizing expenditures from the Firefighters Insurance Fund. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 421, legislation authorizing an agreement for lease accounting software. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 422, legislation amending the 2021-22 budget to fund MWBE staff and public works contractor hiring incentives. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 423, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds to the parking fund. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 424, legislation authorizing a grant agreement and amending the 2021-22 budget relating to the Financial Empowerment Centers initiative. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 425, legislation authorizing an agreement for Freedom of Information Law records request tracking software services. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 455 is a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of the mayor. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Abstain.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes. Motion carries 8-0-1.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0-1 into the record with Councilmember Evans abstaining.
Introductory number 456 is a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of members of city council. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
President
Yes.
Scott,
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
I have an amendment to this item that I sent out to council. Can we vote on that before voting on this?
I'm not sure about the sequence. Patrick, can you tell me how that needs to go?
Before we vote on the item, a motion would have to be made to amend it.
I'd like to make a motion to amend item
What-
456.
The amendment was submitted, Councilmember Lubian.
Yes, I emailed council, I think, last week with the amendment. So you have received it in writing. So the amendment, this legislation freezes council salary for this year instead of the traditional 2% cost of living increase. We've been told that this is something that happens following an election year to ensure that the position that someone runs for, the salary is at the same level. And I'm submitting that while we're considering a cost of living increase for the mayor, that this of all years, we could consider a cost of living increase for council. I understand that in our conversations around this item that we could focus how this affects us personally in our current roles. COVID-19 has caused significant losses in income for many of us. But I would like to center the conversation on this issue.
Councilmember Lubian, would you just read your amendment, please? Or would somebody read the amendment, the proposed amendment?
I'd like to speak my piece on it and then introduce the amendment. If that's
All right.
okay. Okay. So it's deeper and bigger than us, and much more intricate than just the cost of living increase. As it stands currently, this position is only accessible to people of privilege and power because the salary is not enough to sustain a family on its own. For example, a single mother with 2 children working 30 hours for council would fall below the federal income guidelines, would qualify for WIC, or be forced to work a second job on top of council. As we have worked so hard locally to raise the minimum wage and help people acquire sustainable employment, the salary of council positions is essentially limiting access to thousands of local residents. And I realize that council members have worked other jobs over the years in addition to the 30 hours a week council requires. Being able to solely focus on the work at hand is important. And when we try to do many things at once, sometimes things suffer, whether that's our families or parts of our jobs. We can't do it all well. And imagine how much more we could do if we were all able to completely focus on council. I would encourage us to even look at legislation that would provide a living wage for full-time council positions to better enable us to do our work, though that is a separate conversation. But I would argue that a simple, consistent cost of living increase is just inching us in the right direction to releasing the average person into public service. And did you know that while we work only 10 more hours than our aides, we actually make only 40 cents more per hour? Obviously, no one gets into public service for the money, but I think it's time to consider why many more people have not offered their lives for this work. And I would assert it's literally because they cannot afford to. And so my amendment is adjusting the salary from $36,939 to $37,678.
That is
Madam-
the amendment. Yeah.
Madam President, I would like to speak to the amendment before we vote on it.
Okay.
Well, Councilmember Lupien, I certainly hear you and I understand your concerns. Yet our process and procedure over the years is the process and procedure that we're following now, specifically and particularly for council members. I believe that it is vitally important that we follow that policy and procedure and process at this time. I say that for a simple reason. As council members voting on our own salary, it is vitally, I personally believe that it's vitally important that we avoid any hint of self-interest. So if our normal policy and procedure is to do what we are doing right now, then we should follow it. If we are going to deviate from that policy and procedure, I think we have an obligation to look long and hard and be able to make a credible argument that we are not acting in self-interest. Voting to do something different than what we normally do is, in my mind, an obvious example of us voting in our self-interest. And I think we do a disservice to the community when we do that.
I hear your concern, but when we voted for a cost of living increase last year, that was in our interest. Cost of living increase for salary is inherently in our interest. And the justification for this freeze would only affect 5 of us this year. And in 2 years, it would only affect 4 of us. And I don't believe because we've done something in the past that it means that we should do it in the future. And so that's where I will leave my argument.
Additional comments on the proposed amendment? Okay, is there you've made the proposal, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Somebody's gonna have to help me count.
I think we have to do a roll call.
Well, wait a minute, don't we? Okay, yeah, let's do the roll call.
Yep. Madam Clerk, if you would do a roll call on that, please.
Sorry, I was on mute. Councilmember Evans,
No.
Councilmember Gruber,
Nope.
Councilmember Harris,
No.
Councilmember Lupien,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
No.
Councilmember Peel,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
no,
President Scott.
No,
Okay, we have, so the motion failed.
is that,
3 to 6.
Thank you. Now the main motion. Introductory number 456 is a local law amending the city charter with respect to salaries of members of city council. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
No.
Councilmember Melendez,
No.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
No.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes. Motion carries 6-3. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 6-3 into the record with Councilmember Lupian, Melendez, and Pio voting no.
Introductory number 460, legislation approving appointments to the new American Advisory Council. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
Motion carries 801.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 801 into the record with Councilmember Lupian abstaining.
Introductory number 461, legislation authorizing a memorandum of understanding and appropriating American Rescue Plan Act and state funds for the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center expansion project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 464, legislation authorizing an amendatory agreement for the operation of the South Avenue Garage. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 466, legislation authorizing an agreement for the recruitment and selection of a chief of police. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 467, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds for the city employee COVID-19 vaccination incentive program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Pio voting no.
Chairperson Evans, do you have a motion related to introductory number 462? Legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and amending the 2021-22 budget for the By the Block program?
Yes, I make a motion that we discharge introductory number 462 from committee.
A second, please, Councilmember Patterson.
Second.
All right, let's vote on discharging introductory number 462 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record for the discharge of introductory number 462.
Now let's vote on introductory number 462. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Chairperson Evans, do you have a motion related to introductory number 463?
Yes, I'm-
Appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2021-22 budget and authorizing agreements for the Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot Program.
Yes, Madam President, I make a motion to discharge introductory number 463 from committee.
Second, please.
Second.
Let's vote on discharging introductory number 463 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record for discharging introductory number 463.
Now
And
let's-
Madam
yes.
President, can I just make a brief comment and this goes for both pieces of this legislation. As I've said from the beginning, and I said this to my colleagues at Agenda Review, our chairs meeting, and then at the Finance Committee meeting, my goal is to work to make this bigger. I want to be able to do that, but I also want to continue to work with my colleagues on council. And I heard from my colleagues on council both of these pieces of legislation, and they said, Mr. Chairman, can you at least start getting it started? I will say that there is a lot of work internally that the incoming mayor will have to make sure that this is implemented with fidelity, and we will work to do that while also simultaneously working to ensure that we do everything we can through public-private partnerships to expand both of these pieces of legislation. But there is much work to be done. So we ask for patience and for folks to stay tuned as we work to implement both of these both important pieces of legislation.
Thank you, Chairperson Evans, and I really appreciate your wisdom and moving this forward. And I want to thank the members of the committee that put in so much work on this very, very important topic. These people put in some hours and did some deep research and are very committed and passionate about the work. So I really appreciate the fact that we're going to move this forward. And I believe it's going to be great because we're going to continue to do the work. It is a pilot that's going to be a pilot that grows into being a magnificent example of what government can do when we get our heads on straight. So I will call for the vote on introductory number 463. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Councilmember Patterson, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee report, please.
Yes, ma'am. But before I begin the report, I just want to say, you're the only council president I've ever had the pleasure of serving with. And I think that's true for every member of this body.
Oh, yeah, because of our term. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you for your service. To the council, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation: Introductory number 426, authorizing sale of real estate and amending ordinance number 2021-137. Introductory number 427, authorizing the sale of real estate and maintenance agreement related to 40 and 42 Commercial Street as amended. Introductory number 428, authorizing a lease agreement for 61 North Chestnut Street. Introductory number 429, authorizing a sublease agreement for portions of 300 Exchange Boulevard. Introductory number 430, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, authorizing an agreement for the Land Bank Acquisition Rehab Program. Introductory number 431, authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the Aging in Place Home Food Distribution Program. Introductory number 432, authorizing an agreement for development services for the Bull's Head Revitalization Project. Introductory number 433, approving commitment of funds for a housing trust fund. Introductory number 434, authorizing a payment in lieu of taxes agreement for the Canal Street Apartments project. Introductory number 457, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Zombie and Vacant Property Remediation and Prevention Initiative Round 2. Introductory number 459, resolution approving appointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. This report is respectfully submitted for the very last time by Council President Loretta C. Scott, Council Vice President Willie J. Lightfoot, Member Miguel A. Melendez, Council Member Mary Lupian, and myself, Michael A. Patterson.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 426, legislation authorizing the sale of real estate and amending ordinance number 2021-137. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 427 as amended, legislation authorizing the sale of real estate and maintenance agreement related to 40 and 42 Commercial Street. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 428, legislation authorizing a lease agreement for 61 North Chestnut Street. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 429, legislation authorizing a sublease agreement for portions of 300 Exchange Boulevard for the Harbor Master facility. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 430, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing an agreement for the land bank acquisition rehab program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Abstain?
Motion carries 8-0-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0-1 into the record with Councilmember Harris abstaining.
Introductory number 431, legislation authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to the Aging in Place Home Food Distribution Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 432, legislation authorizing an agreement for development service for the Bull's Head Revitalization Project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 433, legislation approving the commitment of funds for Housing Trust Fund. All in favor, please say aye.
President Scott,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number,
I just tried to say this before we voted.
I'm sorry,
Can you hear me?
Councilmember Lupian, you're.
Yes.
You
I was
want
trying
to,
Yes, I was trying to say this before we voted, but I just wanted to urge that we do look at this housing trust fund as something that is innovative. And, we had a housing trust fund 30 years ago. It became the Greater Rochester Housing Partnership. And I would urge that we do look at the housing trust fund as something that's different and something that we haven't done before, to look at innovative ideas on how we can make more of our Rochesterians homeowners. Thanks.
introductory number 434, legislation authorizing a payment in lieu of taxes agreement for the Canal Street Apartments project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 457, legislation authorizing amendatory agreements for the zombie and vacant property remediation and prevention initiative, round 2. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 459 is the resolution approving an appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Councilmember Gruber, the Parks and Public Works Committee report, please.
Absolutely, President Scott. I'd first like to take a moment of privilege to thank you for your years of service. As Councilmember Patterson said, the only council president that I know, and I'm incredibly grateful that you gave me an opportunity to chair the prestigious Parks and Public Works Committee. And of course, in addition to your retirement, we have a whole lot of public servants who are in the middle of some flux right now. I know we'll have an opportunity to say things to Mayor Smith and Deputy Mayor Demps and Commissioner Kirkmeyer, Commissioner Lyman Torres, but I have to at least take a moment before the Parks and Public Works Committee to say a particular thank you to Commissioner Jones, who has taught me a great deal about public service. And anyone who had a chance to read any of the wonderful articles that came out about his retrospective knows what a public servant he is. But on top of that, we also have Joe Ladelfa retiring, who one of the things Commissioner Jones really did a wonderful job of was building a whole lot of talent. And Joe will be missed as well. And I will not continue to speak about the great work of the DES department because I will never stop. So instead, I will read the committee report.
Councilman Gruber, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I would also like to say a word.
Councilmember Lupien, President Scott said that we're going to have a moment to say things about all the retiring folks at the end. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
I was just taking a little bit of privilege. After all, I've spent all those hours with Commissioner Jones, so I felt like I earned it. So the Parks and Public Works Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 435, appropriating funds for the Minister Franklin D. Florence Civil Rights Park. Introductory number 436, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements for downtown tour boat service. Introductory number 437, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements for the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood upgrades project. Introductory number 438, Bond Ordinance, the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $249,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood upgrades project. Introductory number 439, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. Introductory number 440, appropriating funds and amending ordinance number 2021-20 relating to the East Main Street Bridge over CSX Trans Amtrak project. Introductory number 441, Bond Ordinance, the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $961,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC upgrades project. Introductory number 442, authorizing an agreement for the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC upgrades project. Introductory number 443, authorizing an amendatory agreement for the Rundle Memorial Library exterior building repairs project. Introductory number 444, authorizing an agreement for the Goodman Firehouse Improvement Project. Introductory number 445, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds for the spring 2022 lead service line replacement program 2A project. Introductory number 446, authorizing an amendatory agreement for occupational and environmental core training services. Introductory number 447, authorizing an agreement for energy program support services. And introductory number 465, a resolution to identify and rename public spaces named for slaveholders. This report was respectfully submitted by Councilmember Malik Evans, Councilmember Jose Pio, Council Vice President Willie Lightfoot, Council President Loretta C. Scott, and myself, Councilmember Mitch Gruber.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 435, legislation appropriating funds for the Minister Franklin D. Florence Civil Rights Park. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 436, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements to establish a downtown tour boat service. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 437, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements for the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood upgrades project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 438 is the bond ordinance authorizing $249,000 bonds to finance the cost of the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood Upgrades Project. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, I'm
Aye.
sorry, this is a roll call.
Roll call, yes. Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes,
Thank you.
motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 439, legislation appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 440, legislation appropriating funds and amending ordinance number 2021-20 relating to the East Main Street Bridge over CSX Trans Amtrak project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 441 is a bond ordinance authorizing $961,000 bonds to finance the cost of the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC upgrades project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian. Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes,
Thank you.
motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 442, legislation authorizing an agreement for the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC project, HVAC upgrades project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 443, legislation authorizing an amendatory agreement for the Rundell Memorial Library exterior building repairs project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 444, legislation authorizing an agreement for the Goodman Firehouse Improvement Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 445, legislation appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds for the spring 2022 lead service line replacement program 2A project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 446, legislation authorizing an amendatory agreement for occupational and environmental core training services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 447, legislation authorizing an agreement for energy program support services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 465 is a resolution related to the survey of public spaces named after slaveholders. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Pio voting no.
Vice President Lightfoot, the Public Safety, Recreation, and Human Services Committee report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. And point of privilege, I also just want to take a quick brief opportunity just to say thank you, Madam President. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve as your Vice President. You've been a great leader, great mentor. Auntie, I don't know what we're gonna do without you. Lord help us.
Real
Lord
though.
help us. So-
Resorting to the auntie.
but I will follow your direction, Madam President. And I will not, I'll save my comments for the commissioners and things at the end. And thank you again, Madam President. It's been an honor and privilege to serve as your Vice President. I can go on and on and on and on about what we've gone through, been through, and have conquered, overcame. And it's just a blessing, and to God be the glory, and God bless you on many more on your retirement, knowing that you're not really going to retire, but you're just going to another part of service. So with that being said, the Public Safety, Recreation, and Human Service Committee report is as follows. The following Public Safety, Recreation, and Human Service Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 449, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for funding of firearms instruction. Introductory number 450, authorizing an agreement related to the training of firefighters. Introductory number 451, authorizing an agreement for services related to the Summer of Opportunity Youth Employment Program. Introductory number 452, authorizing an agreement and amending the budget for the MVP Healthcare Community Grant. Introductory number 453, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the 2021 Justice Assistance Grant Program. Introductory number 454, authorizing an agreement to update and redesign the Police Accountability Board website, rockpab.org. Introductory number 458, amending Ordinance 2021-368 relating to the Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. The Public Safety, Recreation, Human Service Committee recommends the following title legislation, which is held in committee. Introductory number 448, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the school district for traffic and crowd control services. Respectfully submitted by myself, Vice President Willie J. Lightfoot, Councilmember Mitch Gruber, Councilwoman Lachey D. Harris, Councilmember Jose Pio, and Council President Loretta C. Scott.
Thank you, Vice President Lightfoot. That report will be received, filed, and published, and will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 449, legislation authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for funding of firearms instruction. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 450.
I said nay. You didn't
I'm
hear me.
sorry.
It was 8-1. I said nay.
Oh, you said nay? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 450, legislation authorizing an agreement related to the training of firefighters. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 451, legislation authorizing an agreement for services related to the Summer of Opportunity Youth Employment Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 452, legislation authorizing an agreement and amending the 2021-22 budget for the MVP Healthcare Community Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 453, legislation authorizing agreements and amending the 2021-22 budget for the 2021 Justice Assistance Grant Program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 454, legislation authorizing an agreement to update and redesign the Police Accountability Board's website. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 458, legislation amending ordinance number 2021-368 relating to the comprehensive adolescent pregnancy prevention program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Vice President Lightfoot, do you have a motion on introductory number 448, legislation authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester School District for traffic and crowd control services?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 448 from committee.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Let's vote on discharging introductory number 448 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
Motion carries 8-0-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0-1 into the record, and Councilmember Harris abstaining on introductory, the discharge of introductory number 448.
Now let's vote on introductory number 448. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
Was there also a nay?
Yes, Councilmember Lupian.
Okay, so motion carries 7-1-1.
Yes. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 7-1-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no and Councilmember Harris abstaining.
So that concludes the business for this last council meeting of the year. It's been quite a year. It's been a year. But now we've got an opportunity to say some things. And I want to say first, I'm going to jump off first and tell you exactly how I feel about Norman Howard Jones. Norm Jones for me, he is the epitome of good government service. And by that, I mean, he knows his job, but he also knows the people. His values are unshakable, so that, when things happen and claims are made, we always know that Norm has worked to make it right. We get a lot of work, and he's one of the people who knows our business from entry to exit, having worked all the way up through just about every bureau in the Department of Environmental Services. So when you talk about not knowing what people's going to do when somebody leaves, that's the one you all tend to be worried about. Commissioner Jones, from 25 years ago or so, at one point, I guess I was a little concerned that they weren't going to keep you. And I said, well, let me know, because I'll hold the spot for you in my department. And we went from there to you getting all the way to the head of that very same department that we were worried about you having a job in. So you have done amazing things, and we appreciate you to the highest, to the max.
Council President Scott, you're not supposed to let people know my middle name.
I let it slip that time. So we appreciate you. Commissioner Lyman Taurus is yet another one who is going to be very, very difficult to replace. the work that you have done in such a very short period of time is absolutely overwhelming. When we were at the dedicating the building, you said she hasn't always been taken with me, but I've always been taken with her. Well, having been the commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Human Services, you know, I had a little bias about some things and some people for that matter. But that was handled very well in the end, and it allowed the department to transition in a direction that it needed to go. Your work has been outstanding. I believe you've put us on a good path. The city of Rochester owes you a debt of gratitude for jumping into an area where we were not players. I'm not thrilled about us being players in that body of water, only because we can't afford it to the extent that the county does. But it was needed. We did it, and I think we're doing it well. We definitely owe you, and the city is going to miss you. Anybody else want to add in your comments here?
Madam President?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Did you want to go first, Mary?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, all right. Just very briefly, real quickly, just again, want to concur with Madam President, with Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones, you know, he knew my father. And when I came in as city council, new council member, Commissioner Jones was really very helpful. And I would say this, you know, when you need something done, I mean, you just pick up the phone and you call Commissioner Jones, and it's almost done instantly. And I really appreciated that from you, and the citizens, of course, have a great deal of debt for the work that you've done, not only within your department, with others that you've mentored across the years, as well as council members too, that you helped kind of guide us through this whole process. Coming from county government was much different. So I appreciate, you know, your ability, your openness, and always willing to take time out to guide us through the process, especially when it's concerned. And as of recent, you working all the way up to your last day too. You were just at my church just recently, you and your team talking about the Interloop North project, which we're, you know, my church is smack dab in the middle of, and your team came in and worked, and just the work that you're doing, that Interloop North project that I know you had your hand, your footprint in for many years, is just amazing and transformable what that work is going to do to that particular neighborhood. And so, you know, I appreciate you and your team. And I would say with Commissioner Torres, Dr. Torres, I just have a soft spot for you, and you know that. We got together from the time that you came in, and I had some very crazy ideas, and even Madam President would kind of, you know, get on me because council doesn't do programs, right? We don't do initiatives. But I come from my father, who come from Swan, and I came from growing up with programs, initiatives, and things of that such. And so that's the cloth that I'm cut from. So when I came to you with the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, the mobile trauma unit, the homicide response coordination, the PIC team, we looked at facet. And others got involved with other things as well. But you didn't hesitate. You didn't knock it down. You say, look, how can we make it happen? And you just made it happen. And it was tremendous, especially in the small amount of time. And then for COVID to come in, and you know, you can really tell a leader when they're under pressure and when they're in an emergency. Me coming from the fire department, coming from the military, that's when you can really determine a real leader. When emergency situations are on and the heat is on, everybody can lead at peacetime. But when it gets wartime, is when you really want to pay attention to your leaders and who's out front. And you were leading from the front. You never hesitated, and you were strong. And I appreciate you, and I salute you for the great work that you've done within your tenure. So thank you. The city thanks you on behalf of public safety. As chairman of public safety, it was a privilege working alongside with you and providing these human services that we weren't providing before to the citizens of Rochester. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Lupien.
Yes, and I got a chance to say some of these things to you in committees, but Commissioner Jones, it has been such a pleasure working with you. We also didn't get off on the right foot, I think, when I first came in. We had some tension, but I've just really grown. Well, I always admired you, but I've grown to enjoy working with you, and just really praise your attention to detail and your willingness to jump into action if anything needs attention. I've called and texted you many times, and you got right on it. And the people of Rochester also appreciate your service. And I know that you're staying in Rochester and that you still care about us. And I urge the new administration to take advantage of your expertise. We really will be lost without you. And I just thank you for everything that you've done for Rochester.
President Scott?
Yes.
Oh,
Councilmember Gerber.
sorry.
Councilmember Lupian left off
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Commissioner Lyman Taurus.
Okay.
Commissioner, I have also really enjoyed our time together. We got to really, I think, know each other around the person in crisis team. And I've been so impressed with your work and your dedication. And plus one to everything Councilmember Lightfoot said. It's incredible to see you work with such incredible pressure, and when the stakes are high, and you get it done like no one I've ever seen. And I said this before, going from idea to implementation in 3 months is nothing short of a miracle. And we will miss you very much. And again, I know you're also staying in town, and that you'll stay connected, and that we can continue to learn from your example. Thanks.
Councilmember Gruber.
Thank you, President Scott. As politics get more and more toxic across the country, public service is at a premium. There just are not enough good public servants out there. And we're blessed as a city to have so many of them. I mean, obviously, we've talked about you, President Scott. We have our own, it's also, let's not forget, it's Councilmember Evans' last meeting as a council member. We've talked about Commissioner Jones, who I could talk about ad nauseum, but even look at the fact that we have Mayor Smith, Deputy Mayor Demps, who both stepped into really obviously critical roles at a moment where we needed people to just step up and be servants. That's something we can say about Commissioner Lyman Torres. I don't think we've spoken nearly enough about Commissioner Kirkmeyer. There are so many different people in Joe Adelpha. Joe, I'll say Joe again, Commissioner Jones. I can't forget about Joe. But we just have so many wonderful public servants at every level of every department in this city. And it happens to be that in December of 2021, we're in the middle of a pretty significant transition for a lot of those individual public servants and for each and every one of those departments. And I just can't say thank you enough to the people who go to work every day and try their best to make the city a better place. And that work, I will say, I do have a special place in my heart for the work that DES does and the great work that I've learned from Commissioner Jones, but it goes for each and every one of the people that I mentioned. And I just want to say thank you and really hope, because I've heard a couple of people on council talk about how lost we may be without President Scott next year. Well, I hope that all the people who are retiring or transitioning out of whatever roles, I hope they don't forget our phone numbers and give us a call and come to speak to council meetings and say hi to us, because we still got a lot of work to do and we'll try our best to carry the torch.
You definitely do have a lot of work to do, and even though there is caller ID, I'm sure those of us departing we're not gonna block you or anything. We love the city, and we definitely are grateful for the continued work of the public servants who will continue doing these very, very important jobs.
Madam President?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo everything that's been said and thank everyone for their service. Dr. King said anyone can be great because anyone can serve, and serving in government is never easy. And I wanted to thank all folks that are retiring, moving on, thanking them for the service. But I also wanted to, even though he is still mayor for, I believe, Mr. Mayor, you can't run out. You got to stay here to the 31st. I just wanted to publicly thank Mayor Smith for his support during the transition. He has been great. He has reached out and he has said publicly that it's important that you have a seamless transition between administrations. He said that publicly in print, in the media, and sometimes people say stuff, but they don't do it. It's just saying that if you're going to speak about it, be about it. And he has been about it. And I can tell you that he has made the transition that much smoother for me. And I wanted to just publicly recognize that, say that I greatly appreciate that here as my last council meeting. And I just also wanted to say
thank you
that it's been an honor serving with these council members. We are an eclectic group. We may not always agree, but I want to say that I respect everyone here's service, because anyone could be doing anything else at 8:47 on a Tuesday night. You could be at home with your kids, your grandkids, with your feet up, watching, baseball, football, or enjoying other things, but you have chosen to serve. And I greatly appreciated the time that I've had these past 4 years serving with all of you. President Scott, obviously we will miss you immensely, as has already been said. I look forward to working with the other 7 council members in a different capacity. And I will just keep reminding you that, remember, I was a member, I am a member, and I'll say I was a member of city council. So don't beat me up too hard, because I came from you. So just remember that when you get ready to toughen me up a little bit. But again, in all seriousness, it's been also a pleasure serving with all of you on city council. And I thank everyone on this call for their service.
So many thanks to you all. And I just want to wind up by, I didn't say it's Deputy Mayor Demps now. Congratulations to you. And you'll be heading out the door soon too. You're going to be missed. You have a depth of knowledge that it's very hard to replace. But what I want to say to you all, it's important for us, for our new members, to remember there is tradition and institutional knowledge that has a place among us. And I've taken great pride in the work of the Rochester City Council, because we are known to get our work done and to do it in an orderly fashion. And I would press that home to you all as well, that even as we engage in our various passion pursuits, don't forget that you're a part of the body, and there's both an image, a duty, and a commitment to be upheld as a member of council. I appreciate your work, and I will be praying for you all. But in terms of that tradition, I'm determined that we will not be the only council on record to not have a group photo. So as we conclude this, the council members.
Before you conclude, Madam President, you have a couple.
All right,
okay. Councilmember Patterson, I believe you have Deputy Mayor Smith.
Okay.
So
all right.
I'd like to jump in too after. Thanks.
Right. Well, so let me start at MBD, because I'm the chair of MBD. Look, COVID ain't been easy on nobody in no way, shape, or form. NBD just does work. And for an organization that everybody thinks of as just a bureaucratic thing, they're out there every day, they're touching the people, and they honestly have a heart for the people. And I think bodies express the sensibility of their leader. And Gary Kirkmeyer, Commissioner Kirkmeyer might not strike you as a big old softy, but when I tell you he gives a damn about this community, that brother gives a damn about this community. He cares. His people reflect that. The emails that I send him, the things that I have his staff working on sometimes, I'm just sitting here like, man, I don't even want to write this email, but you know what? Let me write this email and see what they can do. I did it today. Speak to council. His folks already working on it. This is like a routine, regular thing. They are forward deployed. They are touching our community and they just love on them. And that is a reflection of who Gary is. And so, Gary, I just want to say thank you for having an opportunity to work with you and your staff. You know, you have set a high bar, and you know, whoever, wherever, however, it's going to be hard because you set the bar high. So I just want to say that to you. Commissioner Lyman Torres, same thing. The stuff you've done, I'm still sitting here like sideways, like what? But you just get it done. You know, there's some folks you talk about what their degree is and what their education is, but then there are those folks who just know how to get stuff done. And I'm singling out you, Gary, and finally, Commissioner Norm Jones as folks who know how to just get stuff done. I've been working with Norm for over 25 years, well before I was on council. And when I tell you that Norm Jones has been transformative in the lives of children in the city of Rochester, I'm here to tell you this man has walked folks right out of high school into position where they had a chance to develop, become adults. And we talk about generational wealth. We got folks, Norm's got folks who getting ready to retire in a little bit who were kids when I met him. And he's been transformative. Somebody who's been committed to getting Black and brown folks in positions and jobs that were historically they were excluded from it. Yeah, he did that. He does that. And so the challenge is whoever's coming after him is going to be held to the same standard. So thank you, Commissioner Jones. Thank you, Commissioner Lyman Torres. Thank you, Commissioner Kirkmeyer.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Council Member, actually, Melendez, I think you had something to say?
Yes, I'll be very brief, so I won't repeat some of the stuff that's been said. But, you know, Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Lyman Torres, there was a project in the community that took over 40 years to come to fruition. And when I look at the International Plaza, I have to think of the two of you as well. You know, the amount of work that was put into getting that across the finish line was critically important. And I knew it took collaboration from both of you, along with the administration and the mayor, to get that done. Former Mayor Warren. And I'm just so appreciative, and I know the community is very appreciative of all of the work and all of the effort that you put into that. And I just want to say that my experience with you, Commissioner Jones, has been you're someone who can walk the street in the community and talk to residents and beat someone up in a boardroom. So I admire your passion for public service, and I thank you. And I want to end on thanking President Scott. Just, you know, for me, I think I'm the only council member, well, I know I'm the only council member that onboarded during the middle of a pandemic. So most of my engagement has been in the Zoom rooms. But I admire your leadership, President Scott. You know, I knew you before I joined council. You're definitely an inspiration to all of us, and we look forward to continuing to make you proud.
Thank you. Okay, did I miss anyone? Councilmember Harris, I think, yes.
Thank you, President Scott. I'd just like to say thank you to all of the commissioners and their dedicated staff, because I mean, I just won't want to belabor what was already been said, but I just want to concur with all of my colleagues here. And finally, President Scott, I just remember being at awe and watching you grow within the ranks here at City Hall. And when I happened to hop on City Council, you have been a true mentor to me. And I would like to say thank you so much for taking me under your wings and showing me, you know, just what it means to be a true servant. So thank you so much for your service. And again, thank you to all of those who have served. And just please know that you all will be missed, and we definitely will do our best to make sure that the shoes are filled with the right people, at least hold Mayor-elect Malik accountable, keep him on his toes to make sure that happens.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Madam President, if I
Mr.
could,
Mayor, yes.
I don't want to stretch the meeting out. You know, I've spent 7 years in city government, liking city council meetings that ended quickly the best. Although I have to say that tonight, oddly enough, I'm enjoying this meeting kind of taking a little bit of time. It might have something to do with the fact that it is my first and likely will be my last and only city council meeting as the mayor of this great city. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and be present. And I also am grateful for your indulgence to let me share some words on what is a pretty momentous moment in city government, one of great change for our city. And of course, with great change always comes great opportunity. And there's some words I want to share, if I could, a quote, and it's one I'm sure many of you heard before. It's been shared by every high school coach probably in the history of our country with their teams. It's been shared by presidents. Nelson Mandela once famously shared it with the rugby team of South Africa. But I think it's very appropriate. And it's from former New York State governor and also former president of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt. It's often known as the man in the arena. But if I could, that quote says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." I share that because I believe that serving the public is worthwhile and worthy, that public service is amiable and important work. And tonight, I want to recognize all of you who are a part of what we are doing, but particularly those of you who are going to be transitioning to other things. Cassie Demps has served as the Director of Human Resources, Gary Kirkmeyer, the Commissioner of NBD, Norm Jones and DES. Those three alone, as they move into retirement, have 100 years of public service between them, 100 years of serving in the arena. Rosbrook Harris, Dr. Daniel Lyman Taurus, Justin Roy, Tim Curtin, Brittany Wells, and others and other levels within the administration are also transitioning to other roles in public service, transitioning to take on other endeavors, but they too toiled and knew what it was to be in the arena and to lead. Mayor Warren, of course, left last month, and she certainly knew what it was to be in the arena. President Scott, you have shown, if anyone, what it means to have the best of sportsmanship in the arena of public service. And you have been a model for how we all can hold ourselves to the very highest standard. And Mayor-elect Evans, I appreciated your very kind words. You are really going to understand as mayor of our city what it is to be marred by dust and sweat and blood as you go forward, because being in a leadership role, of course, like being the mayor of the city of Rochester, is one where you will certainly experience your share of critics, but press on and do the work of the people, because I think it's just so important. And so I just wanted to share that with you and to salute all of you for being in the arena, for those members of council who will continue on, members of the administration who will continue on, and those who will join you in this effort. It is worthy work, it is amiable, and it is important. And our public and the citizens of the city of Rochester ultimately are the ones who win for us making the decision to climb into the arena, to give it our best, to not be afraid to fail. And I think so very often to succeed. And so to all of you, I say thank you for the opportunity to serve with you these past 7 years here in the city of Rochester. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I do believe that concludes our business. Vice President, you just got ready for the photo opportunity?
I'm ready. I'm photo ready, Madam President. Military,
Okay.
I'm always ready.
So we're going to excuse everyone other than council members. We thank you so much. We're going to try and work this thing out so that we can get a Zoom photo that, you know, we haven't had a council photo because of COVID and all of that stuff, but we're going to have some kind of photo. And this one will be representative of the era that we're in. So we're going to make it happen.
Willie Joe, fiction column.
Lord Jesus.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Happy
Good night.
holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
You
Thank you all
too.
for your service.